And Ronald Masinda, of course, is our reporter on the story around the real security concerns at that university. This, of course, follows the murder last week of the man in charge of the security for the Vice-Chancellor. Let's bring Ronald Masinda in now. Ronald, we know that the Ministers of Higher Education and Police have been visiting. What can you tell us? Good evening.
Good evening, Sally. Well, this has become a high priority for the Minister of Higher Education. He was speaking, addressing the media earlier on, saying that these crimes are becoming quite common. We do have the Minister of Police now to tell us more about his own visit. Mr. Bheki Cele, let's start off with you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, you just visited the family of the slain bodyguard. What can you tell us, or any feedback?
Well, it was the Minister of Higher Education, Minister of Presidency, Deputy Minister, myself as ministers. But from our side as the police, we brought the National Commissioner, his deputy here, the head of the Detectives Divisional Commissioner, the head of the Organized Crime Provincial Commissioner, to look at the case and make sure that we follow the case as it deserves to be. But not just the case where we're coming from, the family of Cele now, but the whole issue of that institution. Fortunately, this morning we had a good meeting with management, led by the VC, Vice-Chancellor himself. We had a good time of sitting down. He listened to us, we listened to him, and then we're working things going forward. The simple thing that we can say from the side of the police, indeed, there are gaps that we have discovered as we visit here, which has warranted issues to be taken from the Office of the National Commissioner, and he's putting his team to work on all the matters that have been raised there, starting from last year, May, and coming down, the shooting of the houses, the people that were killed, the latest one and all that. So we are satisfied. The family was briefed on that. They are satisfied. They are happy that the matter is there. The university under VC is happy. Ours is just to do the work and find the culprits.
Vice-Chancellor Buhlungu has also, of course, raised these concerns before, following those shootings that took place in March and May. And he's been quoted as saying that he wanted help from the President Cyril Ramaphosa. Does he feel at ease? Do you think he will continue with his duties?
Well, absolutely. We spoke to him. One thing that he raised very strongly is that he doesn't know where this narrative comes from, that he is in secret venue. So at the stage where he's staying, he said that repeatedly, but that doesn't mean that there is no risk around him. That is why that the Provincial Commissioner already has taken the initiative of dealing with his risk level. I'm very glad that they're working very well with the team. The cooperation is quite high, and that should be done in the shortest possible time, and we're giving direction on his safety.
The VC has also said that he suspects that business people and politicians may be working in cahoots with a syndicate. Organized crime is an issue in South Africa. Could we speculate at this stage?
Well, as I was introducing my team, I said the head of the organizing crime in the Republic of South Africa, Lieutenant General Sibia, is here to put the team and look at it, to report to the National Commissioner. Who is involved, whether it's a politician, whether it's a driver, whether it's what, that we leave that to the investigation. When we come back to give the report, we should really be out of speculation and dealing with the actual matters.
In terms of the way forward, Minister, how common are these shootings, these assassinations, and also going into the issue of the VC, someone who is seen as a whistleblower? This raises concerns as to if we have people coming forward with meaningful information, now they'll hold back because they fear for their lives.
Well, one other thing that we raised, I think the Minister of Higher Education also raised with the VC, we raised, is that looks like there is a criminality that is creeping in the areas of the higher learning institutions, that we need to deal with it as such. Fort Hare might not be only one. We have an immediate issue in Fort Hare to deal with of 2 murders and the attack of 3 officials, including the VC, when his house was shot. But we need to investigate in the university as a whole, but begin to spread to others. There is that development in South Africa where we are getting the sectoral syndicates that are dealing with those matters. It is on that score that quite several responsive special task teams have been created to deal with those matters. In terms of the whistle blowing, while police are part of protection and all that, the matter falls mostly under the Department of Justice rather than the police. But when we're asked by the sister department to put a shoulder in that assistance, we're always available. But we all agree that it's one area, as the President has already instructed, coming from Zondo, a commission, to say we need to up our game when it comes to the protection. Indeed, we need to move that fast. We hope that the Minister of Justice will lead us there, find the way of saying all those people that are working to expose that criminality and that corruption are protected, so that people can be free to come forward. Indeed, as you know, that President time and again he emphasizes this. So if we don't protect the people that are following that call from the President, which means we're not going to go too far, it's important that we take decision quick and the ways of protecting those people so that everybody is able and is free to talk.
Minister, my last question to you. You've often raised concerns about police being under-resourced in terms of numbers. Do we have enough police to sort of tackle these cases?
Well, the police numbers generally are really, in terms of human capital, are fewer than what we'd have expected. But we believe that we have started to address that situation. President have been very sympathetic, and together with the Minister of Finance, that last year at least they gave us 10,000 police to be trained, and we hear again that looks like they're giving us another 10,000 this year. But what we need to do from that raw talent and the talent that exists, we need to increase the specializations and the skills that will be working on these matters. One matter thing that has been raised, especially by the meeting with VC, is the issue of cybercrime. He says it's very big in that institution. It does look like across the institution. So which means we must be able to be skilled enough. Fortunately, next door here, SAA, those are the people. We also have those skills. We're working hard. To be honest with you, we're even Commissioner is putting together the team of the police, highly skilled, that will be further going to get their skills on the high learning institutions overseas to be able to work on that new, very sophisticated crime, including working with the University of Fort Hare at the moment.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Kodo, don't leave, sir. I have one more question to ask you. I saw you nodding your head briefly with regards to the point that Minister was talking about cybercrime. Focusing on Fort Hare, we know that the Hawks have been also doing their own investigations. We know that the SIU's investigations into alleged maladministration and corruption is ongoing. Why do you think these issues persist in these universities?
We are working together with the law enforcement agencies, particularly with the police. We have been giving a support both to the university on request of the university, and we have decided, obviously, as a cluster, that is not only an issue at Fort Hare. Probably it's an issue. That's why the Minister of Higher Education spoke about a national task force that must look at broadly that there's a certain syndicate that is targeting institutions of higher learning, the SCM, and other issues around issues of procurement, where this criminal network is beginning to identify and cripple the institutions of higher learning. We'll continue to do so. You would have seen that on a number of occasions, whenever the minister visits all these areas, the SSA is also part of that, so that we give support, and we'll continue to do so. We are doing a lot of work with the university at the moment. The report that probably you will not have received from the VC was quite happy about the work that we have done so far, and that work we share with the police in terms of some of the things that we pick up from the institutions.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kodwa and Mr. Cele, for your time. Well, that's the situation here, Sally, as we heard from the police minister. They visited the family of the deceased bodyguard, as well as been engaging with the Vice-Chancellor, who seems to be happy to resume his duties as Vice-Chancellor.
And, thank you so much, Ronald. And I know that that interview was done on the fly, and you haven't been able to give us enough of the context. We heard a number of dates, but I wonder if you could give us some context of what exactly has been happening at Fort Hare, because the murder of the Vice-Chancellor's bodyguard last week is not the only murder. We have seen the head of fleet management that was in March or May last year. He was murdered. And now it's starting to look like it's the work of a syndicate. And what we're hearing from the police minister, he's confirming the concerns raised by the VC that criminality is on the rise and they're in the grip of a syndicate that is causing havoc. So just give us a bit of background. What's been going on at Fort Hare and what is the motive behind all of this?
All right, so in March last year, Sally, we heard of a shooting that took place in one of the residences of the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Dr. van Heerden. He has since resigned from his position at Fort Hare University. And during the same time, there were also allegations of other shootings near the residence of the Vice-Chancellor as well as other staff members. But the big one was in May, where the fleet manager of Fort Hare University was gunned down outside his house in Kanubi in East London. And since then, there have been calls of more security at Fort Hare University to protect staff members. Now, what we also understand, there's been allegations of corruption and maladministration that the SIU is currently investigating. And since the Vice-Chancellor took over at Fort Hare University in 2017, he's been a man who has been lauded for tackling issues of corruption at the university, as well as providing a turnaround strategy for the university. And this turnaround strategy has helped the university a lot, according to the students that we also spoke to yesterday, because this is a university that has been in financial trouble for many years, a university that was placed under administration. And since this Vice-Chancellor came on board, it seems like those who have been procuring those contracts of tenders illegally, they have been not getting what they wanted, and allegations are they are the people behind these shootings. And on Friday last week, we heard of the news that the Vice-Chancellor's bodyguard was gunned down outside of his home.
You're so worrying. Fort Hare, of course, has focused everyone's attention on this issue, rightly so, but as the police minister says, he's really concerned that there's a lot of criminality creeping in at a number of higher education institutions. Thank you so much for that update from the Eastern Cape, Ronald Masinda. So that's looking at some of the problems in higher education.